Hey guys, this is Kelly from Hills Deals and Wheels Mobile Home Investing Course available on Vimeo. And today we have, do I call you Chris or Christopher?
You don't definitely don't call me Chris, but you can call me Chris. A lot of my friends call me Cash. That's my last name, so whatever works.
Okay. So we have Chris Cash out of North Carolina, correct? Is it Charlotte?
Yes, Charlotte. I'm out of Charlotte, but we'll probably get into it. But I've done several deals around the state. I'm a firm believer of go where the opportunity is, right? And
Okay.
the mobile home, a lot of it's in the rural areas. So wherever there's some opportunities, I'll definitely go there.
Okay. Okay. So introduce your, first of all, I appreciate you coming here. It's been
No
a
worries.
road, a long road between me and you. You cancel on me, I cancel on you, but finally you here and I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you, taking your time out your busy day and being here. So introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. So my name is Chris Cash. I'm owner and founder of Homebound Real Estate LLC. It's a real estate company. I'm a licensed realtor in Illinois, but not in North Carolina yet. So in addition to doing some houses, we've actually started getting into mobile homes as well, which is why I'm here. Born and raised in a small rural community, Henderson, North Carolina, Vance County, and now reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was telling Kelly earlier, we pretty much go wherever the opportunities are in the mobile home space to sell and buy mobile homes. I've been doing this. I was telling Kelly since actually last October, so it's been a year. I kind of started going through and reviewing and doing some research and taking some classes back in October, but it wasn't until March of this year that I closed my first deal. And I know one of the questions will probably be asked is I've closed about a deal a month now over the last 7 months, and it's just been a phenomenal process. And I couldn't have done it without people and coaches to kind of lead me along the way. So I'm not an expert. We're all still learning the process, but anything I can share to kind of help you all along this journey, I'm definitely more than happy to do so. So glad to be here.
Oh, we're glad to have you too. So, Chris, why mobile homes now? Since you were a realtor, well, you still are a realtor. Do you prefer one over the other, or it's about the same?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, Kelly. Honestly, I got my realtor's license in Illinois a couple of years ago, and I've always thought about sort of life after corporate America. I've been working for other people for the last 20 plus years, and I've always told myself there must be a better way, right? In terms of financial freedom and have the opportunity to dictate your own paycheck and be able to do something that gives back as well. And there's nothing like affordable housing. So to answer your question, I never really practiced real estate, but I always wanted to get into real estate, right? In some way, shape, or form. And the way I look at it is mobile home is really the holy grail, right? In terms of it is real estate, but it enables you to get in without investing quite as much money, without spending quite as much money. As you know, Kelly, that's one thing that often keeps us out of the real estate game, right? It just costs so much money to get involved and to do certain things. It really, I think, demotivates or discourages people from getting into it. So I like mobile home right now, but I keep my options open because I think we all should. And we may talk about it, but even in the mobile home game, right? I mean, you want to definitely, there's multiple ways to be successful. There's multiple ways to make money. So I would say, find whatever works for you, but you can always branch out and do other things, right? Like wholesaling, investing, using it to using it for reoccurring income. If you decide to rent out some mobile homes, or if you decide to just sell some and wholesale, resale, you can use that as well. So I don't prefer one thing over another. I just think that the main thing is get in, right? Get in and
Right,
start.
right, right.
And once you get in, you'll kind of figure out your place to be. And you can always learn more as you go along.
Okay, all right. And so, how did you get your start? You mentioned something earlier before we went live about a friend introduced you to the business, or?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. So, growing up in a small town, right? So everyone has their own, preconceived notions about, mobile homes, good, bad, or indifferent. You only really know what you used to. I grew up in a small town, so there were some friends that I knew that lived in, mobile homes and mobile home parks, but I didn't know that mobile homes was as big as it is. I mean, if you go to certain parts of the country, right? I mean, Florida, for example, I mean, you have 5-star mobile home parks and people ride around in
Right.
golf carts and things like that, right? So the thing is, my start was I have a buddy of mine, and I had recently took a severance package from a corporate America job due to COVID, and he was like, "Man, let me talk to you about this opportunity." And he literally drilled me and hit me over the head for about 5 days. He stayed with me about the opportunities in the mobile home space. And I said, well, you know what? I don't know anything about it. I was skeptical, as most people are. And he said, listen, there's this class that I think we should take, and there is an investment, right? I mean, it was, oh my God, it was multiple $1,000s to do it. And I said, well, you know what? There's nothing like investing in your future and investing in something, right? And knowing it. And we joined the class, and we were a part of the class. I'm still a part of it. It's a community now. So that's how I kind of got my start, and things just took off from there. But again, the key is having people that you can share and learn from, and really building your own community and network. And that's really the key.
Okay. All right. And so, Chris, you're a licensed realtor, but are you licensed to buy and sell mobile homes in North Carolina?
Great question. I'm in the process, Kelly, of doing that right now. Right. So again, I don't know who's on the call or their experience level, but it's all based on state, right? So you got to look at what the requirements are for your particular state, right? In North Carolina, you can only buy and sell 3 mobile homes in the state in a year. After that, then you can't buy anymore unless you're a licensed dealer. So I'm actually going through the process right now in terms of getting, surety bonded, finding a good escrow account, and I'm actually going through that process right now. And I have a colleague of mine that she and I kind of talk a lot, and she's in the mobile home space as well. She has her license, so she's been kind of help guiding me through. But that is something you definitely want to get if you're going to stay in the space. But I always tell people, try to close some deals first, right? Make sure it's something you want to do before you go and do that. But ultimately, if you're successful, you are going to want to do that.
Okay. And so, Chris, for those of us who don't know, you're saying you can only buy and sell 3 mobile homes. You're talking about buying and holding. You're not talking about wholesale. You can wholesale and take
exactly. Buying and holding. So So let me just talk about that for a second, Kelly. So there's a couple of strategies that you get in and out of mobile homes. One is the wholesale, which is what you're talking about. So wholesale deals, you don't have to have a license at all. And that's why I say jump in. And then you can always decide where you want to take it. What a wholesale is that, let's say, for example, Kelly, if you had a mobile home that you wanted to sell, I would go out and visit with you. If I decided to, as you know, to wholesale with you, we'd sign an agreement. I would ask you how much money you'd want to make off your mobile home. If we can agree to that, then I would just mark it up for where I thought was just, right, to be able to get money for me. And then, my company keeps what's left. And then we make sure we pay you off. That is a wholesale deal where all you're doing is executing an agreement between you and the seller. And then when you find a buyer, you're pretty much bringing the buyer and seller together and executing the deal. And your money can be paid off in probably the best way to do it is in terms of an earnest money deposit, right? Or something along those lines where whatever your fee is, and you can clearly communicate that to your seller and the buyer, what your fee is. And then that's your cut that you would get per se, and then the rest goes to the seller. So everyone's happy. The seller gets what they want for the mobile home. You get your small fee, so you make your piece, and then the buyer gets what they want in the mobile home. So it works out for everyone.
Okay. And so, Chris, have you ever wholesaled a single family home? Have you ever done that?
Well, here's the thing. It's funny you mentioned that. And I know everyone's starting at a different place, right? Regarding, I don't know how much money you all have to get involved, right? Number one, it doesn't require a lot. But again, for some people, even $1,000 is a lot of money, right? I get it. The way that I execute my deals, the way that I've done them, Kelly, I've been fortunate. My first deal was actually a $500, believe it or not, to buy a mobile home. Right. So I found out pretty quickly, sometimes if you can, it may be in your best interest if it's a $500 or $1,000 decision. If you have the money to go, you can buy it outright. Right. But that is not a wholesale situation. You are buying it and then you're reselling it. So you can only do a certain amount of those in certain states. But if you do it that way, sometimes it's a little bit easier for some people because you don't have to worry about going back and forth between the seller and the buyer. Or as I talked about earlier, you could just wholesale it and you can just sign an agreement. And I'm sure you all will probably have some paperwork, a purchase agreement that you would sign with the seller. And then you would actually represent them and help them sell their mobile home. I've started off doing a wholesale deal, but I ended up just buying it because it was a small initial investment for me. And the main thing is there's so much of a need, Kelly, for these mobile homes. People often are afraid to get involved because they don't have a buyer's list and things like that. But there are tons and tons of buyers out there online that would be more than willing to buy.
Mm-hmm. And so, Chris, what are your thoughts about, okay, like you say, buying the mobile home outright because it only costs $500 to buy the mobile home. So that way you eliminate the seller, okay? But what about having an open title so your name doesn't have to be on anything?
Well, yeah, you know what? Great
Mm-hmm.
point. Again, this is where it gets challenging, right, Kelly? Because it's based on the state, right? Like, so great point. Some states, you cannot have an open title. So in North Carolina, if I were to buy a mobile home from you, Kelly, you would have to have your signature notarized. Okay. The buyer doesn't have to have their signature notarized, but the seller does. So it would have to be notarized. And most notaries, they won't, and they really shouldn't have an open title, which means you have to pretty much know who you're going to sell their mobile home to, and the buyer's name has to be put on the title as the buyer. Now, just for example, that's North Carolina. South Carolina and Virginia, the seller doesn't have to have their signature notarized. So it doesn't matter. There's really, so if you have a mobile home in in South Carolina and Virginia, you don't have to have your signature notarized, right? So that cuts out having to go to a notary. Each state is different. And that's what makes it a little bit challenging is that, and I would always tell all the newbies to make sure that you kind of do your research or talk to you, Kelly, as a coach and other people to find out who else are doing it in your area. Because they will be good people to kind of let you know how things are done in your particular state.
Right. And so, Chris, what are your thoughts about getting a power of attorney? So then that way you'll be able to sign the seller's name to the title so the title can be open.
Yeah, you know what, Kelly? That is a powerful tool that I would definitely recommend if you can do it. I don't know if it's good or bad. I haven't had an opportunity to do that yet, but I have one right now that I actually may do that on. And what that does is, so right now, so for example, I'm working with it's an older person, and apparently she's running into a foreclosure type of situation, right, where she owns the land and the mobile home, but the mobile home is affixed to the land, right? And we want to make sure that she doesn't lose her land because she's behind. And oftentimes with some people, they don't know how to deal with the lenders and answer all the questions and all those things that are involved in making that transaction go. And you can't talk to anybody if you're not either power of attorney or if your name is not on anything. So sometimes in order for you to represent your client the best way possible, a power of attorney would give you the right to do that. Now, the key is, in my opinion, is selling it in so you're not power of attorney over their estate or over multiple things. You're only power of attorney over that particular mobile home, and let them know the only reason you're doing that is to give you the autonomy to talk on their behalf, right? To negotiate things regarding the mobile home. But that is a great tool, Kelly. I'm glad you brought that up. If someone can do that. Also, that can be used too in a situation where if you're trying to keep a mobile home from being auctioned, right? And if you want to potentially buy that, sometimes you can bypass an auction, right? And buy the mobile home directly from that seller without it even going to auction. And you can do that by exercising a power of attorney. But that's that's a little more of an advanced discussion. But that is a great tool you can use if you can get that.
And so, Chris, I mean, that's an interesting deal that you got going on. So she's losing her mobile home, or what?
Well, yeah. So the thing is, so it's and I hate, and again, that's why we do this, right? I mean, you can make some good money doing this, right? But you also are doing a service as well. I mean, number one, you're providing affordable homes and housing, and sometimes people are not able to really understand how the process works. So she owes multiple $1,000s for payment for a mobile home, but the mobile home is affixed to land. So if the mobile home is affixed to land, there is a land deed, not a mobile home title. It's combined into one. So if she doesn't pay for that mobile home, the lender can foreclose or go after her land as well, since the mobile home is attached, right? Which is just not a good thing, right? And so we're working with her on trying to pay off the mobile home and help her keep her land. And that's where the whole power of attorney thing came up, because we're not power of attorney, but we're having to drive up and do conference calls with her and talk with her and the lenders and the foreclosure people to make sure that we understand exactly what's going on. But that's that particular deal. And we're trying to work out something where we can, we can make it a little bit worth our trouble, or make it so where she stays in her home and keeps her land as well. So it's a good
Wow,
thing.
that's very interesting. So she's being taxed a different way because she doesn't have a title, she has a deed, correct?
Exactly. And so it's almost like a mortgage payment. It's like, for example, I have a house here in Charlotte, right? So I have a mortgage that I pay every month. Same thing with a mobile home, right? A mobile home can be, and that's the beauty of it, it can be attached, right? It's called a fix to the land. You take brick and you take, and you make it a fix to the land, and then that title goes away, so to speak, and it becomes deeded land, right? And then it goes along with the land. And so some people they pay a mortgage note on that, and they're paying for that house, but it's a fix to land.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And so, oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So Chris, what would make somebody permanently put their mobile home on land versus just, leaving it where it would have been separate? She would have had she would have had the land, and then she would have had the mortgage payment. What would
Well,
make somebody
yes.
do that?
So you know what? A couple of different things. A couple of advantages. Number one, it has to be your land, right? So that's the thing.
Right,
So
right.
some people just don't. Yeah, if you have the land, you have to say, okay, you can have it separate. It's almost like a car, right? That's why a mobile home is really a vehicle, right? It just has wheels on it, can be moved, etc. So you don't have to. It's really up to the individual person. If you want to keep it separate, it's easier to sell that mobile home, put another one there. You can move it. You just have a little more flexibility. In my opinion, and again, this is my humble opinion, the having the mobile home affixed to land, that's sort of a long-term play. And it's just much more lucrative in terms of, think about it. You can have a piece of land, for $5,000-$6,000, right? And put a mobile home on it, and then affix it to land. And then guess what? You could sell that the same as you would a house, a single family house, right? On that land. So think about the difference in, if you were to sell that. So it's really more of an investment situation to go after, but there's definitely some advantage to doing that.
Right, right. But in her situation, if she would have kept it separate, the bank would only be going after the mobile home and not both.
There you
Right.
go. Yeah,
So
exactly. You're right.
that's sad.
You're right.
That's very sad. That's very sad. So Chris, let's talk about the paperwork. How do you guys close in North Carolina? What paperwork is needed?
Yeah. So good question. So it really depends on the type of deal, right? So to talk about, for example, you mentioned the wholesaling, which I haven't done a lot, but the wholesaling process, what you do is you go in and you sort of function a little bit like a realtor, so to speak. But in the mobile home space, you don't have to be licensed, right? For example, to be a wholesaler, where if you had a mobile home that you were selling, Kelly, we would talk about the price. There is a listing, sort of like a listing agreement that I would tell you, I'm going to list your home in different, search engines online. I'm going to market your place. I'm going to take care of everything, right? And then I'm going to find a buyer. I'm not going to charge you a fee, right? Because that's not the goal to do that. I only make my money based off what the mobile home sells for. Okay. So I want to make sure though, Kelly, you get your money. That's important. You get what you want for it, whatever we agree on. And then my fee comes into the difference in what I actually sell it for and what I give to you. You don't have to do anything. I pretty much take care of everything for you. And then once I find a buyer, okay, so let's go back. So the seller signs the listing agreement, okay, the non-exclusive or exclusive listing agreement. It doesn't really matter. Once they sign an agreement, then I find a buyer. When I find a buyer, okay, the buyer signs a purchase agreement. Okay. They sign a purchase agreement to buy that particular mobile home. And there's a place on the purchase agreement where, it asks for earnest money deposits. And I clearly explained to them that my job is I'm bringing you to the seller. And that's my fee, the earnest money deposit. And that's the money that I take. And then the check. So a check is given to, the way I've done it, a check is given to the seller. And then I get a check as well in terms of the earnest money deposit. But I clearly communicate to them, in the event that they decide they want to back out, that earnest money deposit is non-refundable. You want to make sure you get that money for you. So if they can back out, but you already have your money, and that's the beauty of it. You get your money up front, and then you can go down, or you don't have to go down. It's up to the individual seller, right? You can go down with the buyer and the seller to the DMV. And in North Carolina, there has to be a notary, and DMV has a notary to notarize the seller's signature. Okay.
Okay.
And then they put the buyer's name and signature on the title, and then you're pretty much done. The buyer files that, and then in 4 to 6 weeks, the buyer gets a new title in their name.
Okay.
Yeah, and just the other thing I wanted to add, Kelly, is that the deals that I've done so far, I've been lucky. I don't know if it's lucky or fortunate. My deals have all been with private land. I haven't done any in a park yet. It's a little bit
Wow.
different. Yeah, so it's private land. So there are some benefits, some pros and cons to that. But on private land, just be careful, because the main challenge that I found is around moving the mobile home, right?
Okay.
People that own the mobile home on private land, they want them moved. And so you want to make sure that you manage their expectations around how long it takes to move a mobile home. From based off my experience, it takes anywhere minimally 8 weeks to move a mobile home. I won't
Wow.
even, yeah, I won't even touch a deal for anyone if they say they need the mobile home moved in. I need to move next week and moved in 2 or 3 weeks, because the one thing that we don't have control over, if we're a wholesaler, we work with the seller of the mobile home and the buyer of the mobile home, but we're not movers, right? I'm
Yeah.
not a mover, at least. So that's the piece of it that we don't really have as much of a say so in. And in North Carolina, there's a huge delay, Kelly, in terms of these mobile homes being moved.
Okay.
Movers can pick and choose. They can pick and choose how far they want to go. They don't want to go over 50 miles. They may go 100. They don't want to do a lot of breaking down and removing bricks and removing decks and patios and going up here. They don't want a difficult move. In other words, they want pretty much a plug and play, because they have such a wait list, right, of people that want their homes moved. They can pick and choose which ones they want.
Right. And breaking down a mobile home that's, like you said, fixated to the ground, that's a lot. That's extra money, I'm sure. That it's not the same for somebody who can just pick the mobile home up and take it down the street, because you're trying to tear that mobile home away from that brick that they put it on.
Oh,
Correct?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. You're absolutely right. And the thing is, guys, here's the way I do it. I try to advise my client, because we want to be advisors and help them any way we can. But be careful, I would just say, about communicating prices and stuff that movers charge, because we're not movers, right?
Yeah.
So everything that I say to them is pretty much like, hey, listen, based off my experience, this is a baseline of what they may charge, right?
Okay.
But again, double check with them, make sure that you don't get into a situation where a potential buyer is saying that you told them something, right? So
Right.
just make sure that. But you're right, though, to remove like bricks and stuff, I mean, it could cost anywhere from, $1,000 to $2,000 or $3,000. I mean, it can be a lot of money. And also, like, if a tongue is not attached, to haul the mobile home away, if they have to weld one of those on, that can be more fees. So I would just say the mobile home moving game, I don't know a lot about it. I try not to get into it as much, but it's basically more of an a la carte type of pricing scenario where everything's separate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Depending on the move.
And so, Chris, when you're doing all this paperwork, are you also there for the move as well, or you wash your hands to it? You're done.
I'm done.
Okay. All right.
It's like a 20-second COVID wash, right? You give yourself a wash and you're done. I don't really I don't deal with that. But the main thing is, guys, that I would say is just transparency, right? Making sure they understand where your responsibilities start and stop in this whole process, right? Walk them through what you're going to do. You're going to be there. Tell the sellers you're going to be there, execute the paperwork, make sure the buyer comes, make sure the buyer pays the money, make sure that the titles are notarized and then the title is given to the buyer. But after that, you're pretty much done. That's why this moving part is very important, because I've had a situation, I'm having one now, where the person, is not, it's not, they don't have a sense of urgency to move this home, and the seller needs it moved ASAP. You know what I mean? So you run into those as well. So what I would say is make sure you clearly understand from the seller, and it's agreed upon when this mobile home has to be moved, a date. Then make sure you talk to the buyer, make sure they understand that, and make sure they are reaching out and or have reached out to a prospective mover to get the balls rolling, to get this thing moved. And make sure they understand, make sure you're in your paperwork, you should have dates that it has to be moved by. And I made this mistake and I'm paying for it now. Make sure if a mobile home has to be moved, make sure that there's some sort of penalties or fees
Right.
charged to the buyer if they don't have it moved by a certain date. That's important.
Right. So, Chris, you mentioned non-exclusive and exclusive agreements, and I personally don't like non-exclusive. Can you explain to us the difference?
Well, yeah, and that's something that really comes more from, it's kind of started in real estate, but it's the same in the mobile home game as well. All exclusive is, guys, I want to make it simple. Exclusive just means you pretty much have exclusive rights. You're going to work with them solely on this mobile home, which means you're selling it for them. They need to entrust you to sell it for them. If they're going to, let's say, Kelly, you're working with someone, right? And you want to be the one to sell it. You're the exclusive. If they're going to be talking to their friends and trying to sell it on their own and, talking to other people, that's not the type of person you may want to do business with because you may lose the sale. But for me, I don't make them sign exclusive. I just do a non-exclusive, but it's personal choice, right? Go to whoever you want. But I'll market your business. I'll market. If you find someone else to sell it, okay, you do it. You handle it yourself. Then I'm done, right? So it's really the way you want to do it. But I know some people really want, if I'm going to take the time and go and visit and give you the information, right? Give them your knowledge, and then they turn around and try to sell it outside of you. I do understand why you would use an exclusive deal. But one is just saying they work exclusive through you, and the other one is saying they can, if you don't find them a buyer or bring them a buyer, then they can sell it on their own and they don't owe you anything. But that's something that you all would have to work out.
Okay. All right. So, Chris, how do you go about finding these mobile home deals? Do you have a method that you use, or?
Yeah, honestly, Kelly, I probably shouldn't say this. I've just been lucky for the most part. I mean,
Right.
I have put out some bandit signs. I have not gotten into sort of the next level. Like I said, I'm pretty new at this thing myself, right? So I'm still learning. I haven't gotten into the next level as far as marketing and all those things. So I would just say this. I think to start, I went and followed the course. Exactly. The course said, hey, you need to go get some bandit signs, right? We buy mobile homes. I got some bandit signs. And what I do is one of those things where we all go out with buddies. We may go out to a bar or anything. And I say, hey, you know what? I throw some signs in the car. There's somebody riding with me. I'm saying, hey, look, man, we're going to a bar, man. If I stop, I need you to get out and put this up somewhere, right? That's the way I've done it. I've really been good at getting in my car at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and driving around, and people do that. That's the dedication. I haven't done that, but I place some signs. I try to be more strategic about how I place my bandit signs, but that's the start. I mean, that's really the bread. If you start there, if you put out enough signs, you will get some calls. And think about it like this. One sign, Kelly, can make you $5, $10, $15, $20,000. So think of it like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what, Chris? I have never put out a bandit sign because, I've heard some horror stories where the police is waiting for you by your bandit sign. That's why I don't fool around with no bandit signs.
And see, here's the thing. To your point, I can't say I haven't put out like 300. I put out some spam, but here's the thing though. The place that I put out bandit signs, they've been in more rural areas, right? Like you come to a 4-way stop sign. Because here's the thing, what I found in North Carolina, and I don't know if, you're in Dallas, right?
Yes.
You're in Dallas. So, every market is different, but in North Carolina, some of the opportunity is in some of the rural areas, right? I mean, I'm in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. It's kind of hard to put up as many bandit signs, right? If you put them up, they're going to stay up a day probably, right? Especially in the summertime because they're cutting grasses in all the common areas. So wherever they're cutting grass, they're going to come down. You can find some place to put some bandit signs. I would say I probably shouldn't say this, but you know what? Everybody goes to the liquor store.
True.
Everybody goes to the liquor store. Everyone goes to Walmart. They go to the dollar store, Dollar General, stuff like that. So if you can find some, and you will see some places where there are other bandit signs as well. Always try to find a place if you can where there's not a bandit sign for mobile homes, right? But you may see bandit signs for paint, sheetrock, or we do this, or we will clean your home, right? So that place you can put bandit signs. You will get some calls. I would say the other way to do it, if you know of any realtors, right? And all of us know a realtor. There's so many realtors out there. Some are doing it part-time and some are doing it full-time, but there are realtors out there. and just ask them. I mean, because a lot of them, they have leads from mobile homes and they throw them right in the trash can. They don't even use them
Exactly.
at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, because Chris, I do business in California, and that's all they do is, the seller is always hiring a realtor, and then the realtor is always contacting me, and
Okay.
then I wind up having to split my money with the realtor. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And case in point, you're a realtor, and you didn't know a thing about mobile home investing.
None. No,
So that,
none, nothing.
people assume that the realtor knows, and 9 times out of 10 they don't.
And you know what? That's one of those things in the mobile home game. You'll find we consider ourselves, I mean, blue collar, right? Because some people don't want to deal with the blue collar perception of mobile homes. They want to deal with the $1 million houses, and hey, that's fine. But I
Right.
know you. I know in terms of like return on investment, some people call it ROI. I was in corporate America for like, oh my God, 23 years in a number of different roles. I've done everything, worked for other companies, and this is by far the biggest return on investment that I've seen of anyone being able to do. I mean, I don't know of any other jobs where you could put in a certain amount of money. You know what I mean? $2, $3, $4, $5,000 and double and triple and quadruple your money. That's just not
Right.
an ordinary
Right.
thing. So
Yeah,
money.
I mean, it's to me, it's like winning the lottery without playing. I'm serious. I'm
Yeah.
serious. And you know what, Chris? I have created two monsters because I'm in business with my mother and brother, and they are constantly driving for dollars. I can't get them to slow down.
Wow. Wow. And
Yeah,
that's the thing
yeah,
too. And that's the thing to always tell people, right? I mean, you watch some of these courses and you know some of the teachers and people that do it. It's normally a husband and wife or a significant other or a boyfriend and girlfriend, or maybe, two
mm,
guys or two women, a mother and daughter, sisters, whoever. But
right,
if you can have what I call a ride or die partner with you, that really
right.
helps a lot. Not only
It
be able
does.
to, it does not only be able to sort of share the workload and who does what, play off someone's strengths and someone else's weaknesses, but also too, it helps to kind of have someone to kind of bounce things off of. And you can always kill, kill one bird with two stones, so to speak. If you got two people that's actually doing that, it really helps. So I
Right,
would say partner up and even partner up with people, outside. Like Kelly, I know you and I've had some conversations. We haven't had a chance to really talk and do anything yet,
right,
but hey, there's the opportunity out there. So that's the
right,
key right there. Because people always want to know, well, hey, what should we focus on, or what are some leave behinds? And I think if you have the perspective of joining with other people, and the word I always say is please take greed out of the equation, right? There's enough
hmm,
money and stuff to go around for everyone. And as long as we're transparent with our clients, our customers, our buyers and sellers,
hmm,
transparency is important. As long as you're transparent, tell the truth, and understand that you don't have to make all the money necessarily on one deal, and be fair to your people, the business will come back. Because I'll tell you, I my first mobile home that I sold, this lady, she was like, well, you know what? My neighbor has a mobile home, live right beside her. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna see if she'd be interested in selling. I'll let you know. This lady called me 3 months later and said, hey, you know what? My neighbor wants to talk to you. I was telling her you sold a mobile home. You did such a good job, Chris. I want you to talk to her. Boom. I talked to her, got a mobile home for a little or nothing and sold it. And,
hmm.
made multiple $1,000s on that one deal. Right. So if you do right by people, it will come back. And that's what I try to live by as best we can.
Yeah, that is so true. So, Chris, I was going to ask you about return on your investment because you mentioned that, but you're not really buying and holding. You're more of wholesaling, right? So your return on your investment, you really don't invest anything. Am I wrong? Or
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That's a good and bad, Kelly, because here's the thing. Like I always say, hey, shoot for something and shoot for bigger and better, right? So the thing is wholesaling, what I call wholesaling or reselling, whatever you want to call it. If you're selling for the seller, or if you're buying and turning around and selling, and whatever you want to call it, wholesaling or selling, reselling, you make some money. But I think the ultimate thing is that if you can ever go to the next level, as far as think about buying in parts, right? Where you buy the mobile home, you put it in a part. Think about it. It's reoccurring revenue. You could be laying at the beach somewhere, right? And you got money coming in every month. And that's what people have to ask themselves. Do they want to do the wholesaling, reselling piece? And you want to just build your bank, build your capital, right? Because you're selling and you're getting the money coming in. and do you want to slowly transition right over into to residual, where you get money every month? And some people think about if you could own you can have a portfolio of, let's say, 5 mobile homes. Let's just say 5, right? And let's say you can charge, let's say, $800 rent. Let's just say, and let's say the lot rents is $500. That's $300 a month, right? That you would make just off of renting, right? So if you own 5 of those, 3 times 5 is $1,500. That's $1,500 a month coming in every month. Here's the beauty of that, though, Kelly. How you separate the mobile home game from being a landlord is that if someone, once they pay you off of that mobile home, whatever you want to charge, right? Once they pay you off, they own that mobile home. You don't, which means if their refrigerator breaks, then I hope they can fix it, right? If something happens, because it's theirs, they own it. So that's the key, where you eventually want to get to the point and you make your money back in lot rent. That is, if you own your own land. That's what we're talking about, right? If you own your own land, you can do that because you own the land, you're charging lot rent. If it's in a park, you have to pay the lot rent, and you keep the remaining rent, and then you're a landlord, right? You have to fix something if it breaks down, but there's 2 different strategies where you can get reoccurring revenue. So think about that as well. That's why there's no one way to do this thing. It's about whatever works for you. But I would say wholesale is a great way of starting off, learning the game, being able to build your capital up so you can do some other things in the real estate, in the mobile home game. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. So would you say wholesaling is like a stepping stone to eventually having continuous cash flow later on down the road, where you don't have to go out there and throw a bandit sign in the grass?
You know what I say to that, Kelly? Honestly, respectfully, I say yes and no. The reason I say that is because I think every deal is different, right? It's almost like, if you're a quarterback in the NFL, I hate to use sports, right? I don't know, but sometimes you need to know how to pass the ball. You need to know how to run the ball. You need to know how to read. There's multiple ways to make money. So every deal you get or that runs across, you decide, am I going to wholesale it? Is it maybe a buy and hold scenario, right? Or maybe a fix and flip. So I think, but to your point, I think if you start with wholesaling, just to start, do a couple, and then you'll start to learn other strategies and other ways to round out your strategies to make money. That's what I would recommend. It's just wholesaling to me is, I think, the easiest way to get started. But because I think the main thing is, and I can't stress this enough, please get in the game. That's the main thing, is to get in the game.
You ain't kidding. You ain't kidding. I don't understand the analysis paralysis that some people have, but
People get on calls and what about this and what about this, and I did it. I did it myself. I was like, well, God, what about this? And I'm like, you know what? Get in the game, because here's the deal: if you're wholesaling, you can't lose money, Kelly, in the beginning, because it's not your money. You're not spending anything. Even if you decide, you know what, it's a small, ridiculous price. I have $1,000 or $500. I'm going to buy this mobile home and resell it. Even if you do that, it's $500 or $1,000. In that example, I won't say don't go out and buy a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 mobile home for your first one, right? But if you buy something like that, if you buy it at the right price, and you'll learn, go online, go on Facebook Marketplace, and you can see what 2-bedroom, 2 baths, mobile homes sell for in a certain area. So you can get an idea of what they're going for. They're all over the board, but you get an idea. And if you buy, chances are you're not going to lose. Worst case scenario, you're going to make a little bit of money versus making a lot of money, right? But those are things that you have to just learn over time, and you have to get in the game and try, because many people get into this, Kelly, as you know, they never do a deal, right? Because they never really, they're just, I know it's tough. It can be, especially if you're not used to it, like talking to people and stuff. But
right.
You got to get in the game. Yep.
So Chris, I'm gonna get in your business a little bit. So tell us what has been the biggest spread that you've had between, your seller and your buyer?
Yeah. So let me just say this, right? Because I don't want people to think about it. Oh my God, it's money. So I don't want to say that, but I'll tell you what I will say. I've had a situation where made 8 times the money that I put in.
Wow.
So
Wow.
again, so think about it like that from that perspective, right? So
Hmm.
look at it for example and say, hey, okay, if you put 1,000 in and make 10, hell, that's a good day. Right.
Right.
So and
Right.
again, it's not all the time, but think about it like this, guys. I mean, I had to break it down because I worked in corporate America for a long time. And I used to always say, well, how much money do I bring home every month? How much do I need to bring home every month? And you can do 1 or 2 deals in this game and you can make easily more than what you've made in a month, right?
True.
Working for someone else. And you know, well, I'm not saying the money comes easy and quick, but sometimes work-life balance is very important. That's what everybody is shooting for, right? And this
Hmm.
enables you to do that. It can give you some generational wealth. You know, you can do very, very well in this thing. And especially if you can, to what you talked about a little bit, Kelly, if you can start thinking about owning some mobile homes, even in a park. If not, if you don't have your own land, that's fine. Own them in a park,
Hmm.
right? Those are
Right.
good. Those are great. Try to
Right.
start with one and try to get to 2 or 3, and you'll start to see how your residual money will start to come in every month, and that's the key.
Right, right. Because I mean, right now I would think that owning a park, I don't know all the rules and regulations about owning the park. So for me, it would probably be a headache. That's why I don't mind investing,
Mhm.
in a mobile home park already with a mobile home that's already there, something I don't have to move. So I
Yeah, for
don't mind
sure.
investing inside the park. It doesn't bother me at all. So Chris, where do you think this pandemic, if we hit another pandemic, where is that going to leave us as investors?
Well, yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. I'm hoping I'm answering your question. Please tell me if I'm not. But now with COVID relief has ended, right?
Hmm.
Unemployment has ended for most people as far as COVID goes. That ended in September. COVID relief. So there's going to be a lot of inventory on the market, not only in the private housing sector, but also in the mobile home sector as well. Because think about it like this: as people get to the point where they can't afford the homes they're in, they have to stay somewhere, right? So mobile homes allow an ability to do that. So I think this industry is going to just gangbuster,
I
right?
agree.
Because
Yeah.
think about it. I mean, I don't know where you can buy a place to live for 5, 10, 15, 20, $30,000. People are paying that for cars to drive
Right.
around. So would you rather have somewhere to live or a car to drive, right? So
Right.
I look at it like, to answer your question, another pandemic. I mean, it's already a point now, and these banks, I mean, it's going to be not only mobile homes but houses on the market too. These people that are in these houses, they're going to be looking for lower cost alternative options, right?
Right.
And what is that? That translates to me into mobile homes. I don't care if it's mobile homes, modular homes, tiny homes, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a non-traditional home outside of the single family type of scenario. So this is a great time, I think, to get in. Um, and you're also doing the thing is too. I think once you start doing it, people understand too. You're doing a good thing for people too if you're doing it the right way. Uh,
Right. Right.
yeah. So
So Chris, where do you see yourself 5 years from now in the mobile home business?
wow. Yeah. I've thought a lot about that. I would like to know. We talked about it briefly. I would love to maybe own a park at some point. And again, it doesn't say that I have to own all of the homes in the park, right? I can own the park, and anyone, you might want to own some homes in the park or whatever, right? But
Right.
I think that's the key for me, and I would love to have a portfolio of mobile homes when you start to see that residual revenue come in every month, because that
Hmm.
makes you feel more comfortable, right? It gets to a point, because I was in sales for many years, and it gets tough, right? When every month you're like, oh my God, I know I got to get a certain number, right? Through
Right.
bandit signs
Right.
and more, right? So you want to get to the point where you still do that, but then you also get that residual revenue coming in as well through your portfolio, buying a couple of mobile homes, renting them out. You may sell some of them, and then get a piece of land for cheap, and then you get the lot rent. So however you want to do it, but that's my goal, is to sort of heavy more up on the reoccurring piece,
Okay.
in addition to the wholesale piece.
All right. And so, Chris, do you have any words of encouragement for somebody trying to get into this business?
Yeah, I think we talked much of it, right? I'd say definitely, if you have someone you can partner with, like we talked about, that is important. If it's a significant other, husband, wife, family member, friend, that helps. As far as the more tactical things, I would say, because people always get, analysis through paralysis and all this, right? Paralysis through analysis. I would say just try to understand the processes, right? Like, okay, if I am going to do a wholesale deal, what is that process, right? A, I need to find someone who wants to sell a mobile home. B, I got to go in and meet with them and see if I can determine what they want to get for the mobile home, right? C, I have to do the paperwork, the listing agreement. Then 4, I have to go find a buyer, right? 5, when I find a buyer, they have to do a purchase agreement. I have to negotiate what I'm going to make on that. 6, I have to bring the buyer and the seller together. We notarize the title from the seller to the buyer, right? 8, while we're at DMV, the buyer has to go and get that title put in their name. They're sent that later, right? 9, make sure that both parties understand if the mobile home has to be moved versus stand. Make sure that everyone understands the finale, what happened at the end. And then 10, you go your way. You see how when you list it like that, you want to understand the process. You don't have to know all the ins and outs to get started. But once you can get that, I think it really kind of helps.
Right. And eventually that'll come like second nature, like tying your shoe. You won't be sitting there
Exactly.
like
Yep.
1, 2, oh, what was 3? You don't have to go through all that because it's going to be like tying your shoe or riding a bike. I mean, it's going to be, you're going to learn that quick.
And a lot of it too, Kelly, it sounds like, oh my God, this. It's not. It's pretty, you'll find it's pretty intuitive. It's more common sense. You'll get it. It's like, hey, I gotta talk. Hey, I gotta find someone who wants to sell their place. I gotta find a seller. I gotta find a buyer. I gotta make sure I get paid. You know what I mean? You start to go about it in your mind and it makes sense. So.
Right. Well, Chris, I greatly appreciate you coming on here. Finally, I got you. I nailed you down to a date. I greatly appreciate you coming on here. Is there a way that, maybe my students can contact you if they have a deal or maybe they want to do a joint venture? I don't know if you're open to that. Do you have any contact information you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure. Just to let everyone, I'm definitely open. Like I said, I'm open to partner with everyone on anything, right? It doesn't really matter. If it makes sense, we'll do it. So I don't know. How do you want to do this, Kelly? Do you want to send them something with my information on it, or I just give them I'll give them my number now and email?
Yeah, you can give them your information now. That would be great.
Okay. Yeah. So my the name of my business is Homebound, HOME, B is in boy, OUND, Homebound Real Estate LLC. And my email is just that. It's Homebound Real Estate LLC, all one word, at Gmail. And my phone number, my direct work number is, so my cell is 704-755-5076. And I did also too, Kelly, maybe you can type in, did I send you also, if any of you all want to join my, I do have a buyer's list. If any of you all want to partner, I have some buyers, they're not pretty much nationwide. They're more in North Carolina, Virginia, some in South Carolina. If any of you all want to join that, please feel free. Do you have that link, Kelly, that I gave you? How do you want to put that in?
I can probably put the link in. Yeah, I do
Okay.
have that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's perfect. And then
but tell them, did you mention your Facebook page?
I did. That's the one I was talking about. Let me see if I can do that. I have 2. You know what I do have? Let's see. Am I still in the call?
You're still live. Don't worry about it.
This is my, and again, I'm still working on this. This is my business page, but then I also have as you know, I have a page, a buyer's list page. Let me give that. Let me put that up there as well. Okay. Groups.
Tar Heel State Mobile Homes.
That is my page, and you think you have that link, right?
Yeah, I do have that link, so I will share that link with them as well. All
And also
right.
to your point, and the last thing I want to say to your point is,
Sure.
if anyone wants, I mean, some people are good at certain things. Building a team of people that can. Some people are good with hammers, some people are good with talking to customers. Whatever it is, there's opportunity for everyone to work together, so we can do some joint ventures. I don't know where everyone's located, but if there's some opportunities, if I have a lead, maybe it's like, hey, listen, you can take this lead and run with it. Let's work out something that's fair. We'll have maybe a referral fee. And so everyone can close some deals and start making some money. So if they ever want to talk about anything or talk about partnering, I'm here. And I love your name, Kelly. Heels, Deals, and Wheels. That's what's up.